buddies, and welcome back to Gwen's Book Reviews. And guess what? That is right, you are getting 2 book reviews today, which explains the outfit. Yeah, I just loaded a video wearing the same outfit and I didn't feel like changing, so I said, you know what, no need. 2 books, 1 day. How great is that? Great for me for reading them, great for you for getting to pick my brain with all my knowledge about them. So let's get started. This book is called The Gritty Truth. It is by Melissa Foster and it is part of the Whiskey series. And by whiskey, that is their last name. I don't mean the drink, but they are just as smooth as the drink. I love those brothers, and although this character Quincy is not their brother, he is like a brother. That's how great friends they are, as well as with his brother Truman. But before we get into that, let me give you a blurb so you can learn a little bit more. Okay, so Quincy and Ronnie. I love these two. So we are first introduced to Quincy. I'll give you a little background. In True Blue is where we first meet Quincy, and Truman is his brother. And Quincy was a big old mess in that book. He was a good person in his heart, but he was going through some things, which is very important for this book right now. So backstory. They were raised, their mother was a drug addict. They don't know who their father was. And so they had this really hard life. And I won't tell you about True Blue because that's for another review. But Quincy was strung out on drugs in that book because he was introduced to drugs by his mother and her boyfriends, and he at a very young age. And you know how that can happen. I mean, I'm not saying I have personal experience with it, but come on, a parent giving their kid drugs. So he had some demons in the first book, and he had a lot of guilt over some things that happened, which once again we'll save for the review of True Blue. But he, through it all, you still see this part of Quincy where he's just trying to deal and he needs help. And what I love about it is by the end of True Blue, he was willing to get that help. And first he had to discover why he took so long to get the help. So it's a very touching story as well as this one. So just so you understand, in True Blue, so you have Truman, Quincy, Kennedy, and Lincoln, presidents, right? And their mom purposely named them that. So Kennedy is a little girl. Lincoln, he was an infant in True Blue, and Truman got them and started raising them as his own. Even though they're actually his siblings, he was not familiar with them until the mother died of an overdose and those babies were left there. And then Quincy was strung out on drugs. He was trying to take care of them, but he didn't know how. And so Truman ended up getting the kids and he was raising them as his own instead of as siblings. And so in his story, he meets Gemma, and so once again, another review, but that's important for this because when in this book, Kennedy and Lincoln calls Quincy uncle, even though he's really their older brother, but they know him as uncle. And it's because of Kennedy being in Ronnie's dance class. That is how Quincy meets Ronnie, is he went to pick Kennedy up from dance class one day, and I think it was love at first sight for him. Now, he didn't immediately try to approach her. They became friends and they carried out this text message friendship. He never asked her out of anything, and you find out that's because he wanted to be clean for 2 years before he embarked on, trying to bring someone else into his life, and he had to focus on his recovery and all of that. So now he's reached his 2 years and he's asking her out. Well, Ronnie is really shy. her mother died when she was young, and her father had a gambling addiction, and so she was raised by her grandmother. And she was, you know, it wasn't a very, I mean, it was kind of a poor upbringing, not homeless or anything, but they struggled financially, and they lived in a very rough part of town, to where at night she would hear bullets, you know, not hear gunfire, I should say, and you know, because gangs are out there fighting, and she lived in a drug-infested neighborhood. So her grandmother fought really hard to raise her and protect her from that and get her out of that neighborhood. So you see, the dilemma will be, Quincy is from that life, and she fought hard to make sure she didn't have to be a part of that life, and these two have fallen for each other. One thing I admire about both of these brothers is, despite their really, you know, really horrible past, you know, not at no fault of their own, they will not become, you know, intimate, completely intimate, I should say, with a woman until they make sure she understands what they've been through and what they may have to deal with. And so he takes her out on the first date, gives her a chance to get to know him, and then he has to come clean because they're getting really close really fast. And so basically he has to sit her down and tell her, you guessed it, the gritty truth. And it's hard, it touched my heart, and it'll bring tears to your eyes, and you will applaud him for where he is in his life right now. And so one thing I love about Melissa Foster is, you know, in a romance, we know they're going to get together, they're going to work it out, but she doesn't make it easy. Like, it's not hard, but she keeps it real. Like, these women don't just say, oh, but you know, you're the most handsome thing and the sweetest things I've ever met, so I'm going to forget all about that, don't worry about it. No, they step back a little, not in a mean way, but the man, in particular in this book, Quincy tells Ronnie, I understand if it's going to be too much for you to deal with, but it was important for me to tell you before we went any further. And she takes that opportunity to make a wise decision for herself. And she doesn't do it in a way to hurt him, and she doesn't insult him or anything. She's just like, this is what, you know, my grandmother fought really hard for me not to deal with, and I don't even know if I could deal with this type of life. Despite the fact that he's in recovery, there is always a chance that, you know, he could fall off the wagon. So she, you know, wants to make sure she understands fully what she's getting herself into. And what I love about Ronnie is she actually goes and does the research, and for herself, and so she has a clear understanding all the way. And so when they come back together, you know, then you get some happy tears, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And even though you know it's going to happen, your emotions will still bubble up, and I totally love that. Okay, now Quincy is leader over, you know, how to do the NA meetings, and so he's helping people get through their recovery, and you know, he's their coach and all this kind of stuff. And what can happen is somebody doesn't want you to get out of that life, and it happens with this girl he's trying to help, where, you know, somebody's pissed that she's getting clean, let's just put it like that, because she was making money for them. So in an effort to get to her, they have to get through Quincy, and so some bad things happen, which puts Ronnie right in the forefront. It's like, oh, that's what I tried to avoid, but she handles it like a champ. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I do advise that you read the book. It is totally awesome, just like every other Melissa Foster book I've read. And so with that being said, it is time for the rating. For those of you who don't know, I do cups of coffee instead of stars. The less the better. 0 cups of coffee is equivalent to 5 stars, so on and so forth. How many cups of coffee did I drink to get through the gritty truth? Let's see. Did you even have to wonder? That is right. Boom! 0 cups of coffee. You didn't need a single drip. Never do with a Melissa Foster book. It is totally awesome, just like all the other ones, and I highly, highly recommend it. Please do grab a copy of the book and come back and tell me what you think about it. I would love to know. You can also reach out and, you know, connect with Melissa. She has a page on Facebook, and, you know, she's really interactive with all of her fans, and I think, you know, you would love that. So links in the description down below to reach out to her to purchase the book, and to find Gwen's blog. So with that being said, that is it for today's review. Thank you guys for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, happy reading. Mwah.